Hello, and welcome to Extra Play, and to Kingdom Hearts, and to this series of animation videos, which I don't really have a specific title for, but now that I'm trying to introduce it, I'm realizing that maybe I should. If you are just joining us, if you've not seen any of the other episodes before, my name is Dan. I'm the guy from Extra Credits. Usually you hear me in a higher pitched voice behind a podium. But I am also a professional animator. I've worked in film for a few years, I've been working in games for the last couple of years, and this little series that I've been making, so far we've talked about Monster Hunter and God of War. This series is all about video game animation. And today I wanted to talk about the animation in Kingdom Hearts, because Kingdom Hearts has some pretty great animation in it. And a lot of animation in it, actually. I'm going on beginner just because, yeah, it's hard to talk about animation and play video games well at the same time. I will still probably play badly, but you know. Anyway, before we actually get into the actual animation discussion, first I wanted to ask you guys some questions about the show in general so far, or at least bring some stuff up. So, you may have noticed so far with this little animation series of mine that I've been jumping from game to game pretty quick. There was only one episode of Monster Hunter, there were a couple episodes of God of War, but I've been moving on to the next game in line pretty fast. And I've been doing that because I figure I can front load a lot of the general discussion about a game's animation in the first 30 minutes to an hour of play. And I've just kind of wanted to try to talk about a lot of games. That said, though, if you guys would like me to stick with a specific game a little bit longer, if you'd like me to... Cat, go away. No. Yeah, the cats are already interrupting me, and we're like 2 minutes in. Anyway, if you guys would like me to stick with some of these games a little bit longer, there's absolutely more animation in them to be seen and talked about, and I can absolutely go back and talk about some of them. If you have any further questions about the animation in a particular game, or if you felt like there was something that I maybe didn't manage to address or bring up, I can totally go back to those. I probably will go back to Monster Hunter to talk more about the creature animation, because there's just such great creature animation in Monster Hunter, but yeah, I've just been kind of jumping from game to game just to try to cover a lot of stuff up front. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that, if you're enjoying this pace of just rapidly jumping from game to game like I've been doing. And also, if you have any particular games you would like me to talk about that you want to recommend down in the comments, please do that, because that's very useful information. I've already got the next game or two, I think, picked out that I want to cover on the show next. And I've got like a list of maybe 100 or something that I want to talk about eventually. But that list is by no means complete. And part of the fun of this show is that I can see a lot of animation in games that I may not have really considered looking at before. So if you guys have any great recommendations, please add them in the comments. And I will add them to the list if they're not on it already. Or I'll bump them forward on the list if I have it on the list already. Anyway. So... let's talk about Kingdom Hearts animation. So the interesting thing, or rather one of the big challenges that Square would have had to deal with making Kingdom Hearts, and there are many challenges, but for animation in particular, there are several. First of all is the fact that in terms of aesthetics and art design, they have to create a world in which both Final Fantasy characters and Disney characters can exist and it not look weird. Like, you have to create an art style where Sephiroth and Tigger can be inhabiting the same scene and it not look bizarre or weird. I mean, conceptually, it is both bizarre and weird, but it shouldn't look weird. It should look like they both belong roughly in the same art design aesthetic. You've got to make it so that it doesn't feel like you've just got characters from two completely separate games with different art styles that's inhabiting the same space. And that applies to every aspect of the art, both in the character design and in the animation and in the environment design as well. You got to design environments that these characters feel right in. And Sora here, our main character, and a lot of the other original characters in Kingdom Hearts, actually kind of bridge the gap between. Looking at Sora here, like, you notice he looks kind of like a Final Fantasy character. I could see him showing up in a Final Fantasy game, but he's a little bit cartoonier. He's a little bit more Disneyfied. He's got these big, goofy shoes. He's got these little rounded pants shape. He's got this really cartoony way of moving around. Like this jump here is like crazy, boing. Like everything he does has always got a little bit of a bounce to it. A little bit of just this kind of happy, lighthearted bounce. Even the run. Just lots of up and down, and he's swinging those arms, really excited like. The original characters in Kingdom Hearts have to kind of bridge the gap between Disney and Final Fantasy. They gotta have a foot in both camps. And I think that they absolutely do. Anyway, I should stop running around and actually progress in this game. I'm trying to develop my skill at playing and talking at the same time so that I can actually move forward in the game while I'm talking instead of just stopping and running around all the time, but hopefully, over the next few months, I guess, of making these videos, I will get a little bit better at it. I don't know how streamers do it, honestly. Like, Dan Emmons, how did you do this? This is actually a really hard skill. I'm gonna jump really cartoony-like. I really like Sora's character animation, just in general. I'll be talking a lot about it over this series. I'm gonna grab the sword, because it looks most like a Keyblade for our purposes, for just animation and the way he holds it and all that stuff. The animation in this is really nice for PS2. I'm impressed. So this whole tutorial, not really even a tutorial, this whole just intro section where you're just in abstract dark space standing on gorgeous murals of Disney characters that I just want these on my wall. They're so pretty. So the whole purpose of this space, though, is to essentially choose your build. Like you're choosing which aspects you're wanting to focus on, be that like your strength or your defense or your magic, which one you're wanting to, like I'm gonna sacrifice some of my magic ability here. Which it's interesting having that be a 3D space that you navigate around and making that sort of an in-world choice rather than an in-game choice, strictly a system choice. Sure. And it is creative, but some of the things they do with it later on, like one particular thing that they do a little bit later in this is they're gonna send me to a sort of a version of the Destiny Islands, and they're gonna have me interact with Tidus and Waka and Selphie and answer some random multiple choice questions, which are somehow going to determine the way my stats increase with levels throughout the entire rest of the game. And it's incredibly opaque. Like, unless you know that's what you're choosing, the game doesn't provide any hint that that's what you're actually doing. And it can have a pretty big effect on your experience of the game. Like, that's a weird thing to choose abstractly through multiple choice questions about like what your desires are and like think what you care about most. I'm not sure I loved that particular aspect of this idea, but I'll give him points for creativity though in letting you choose your stat growth. All right, anyway, back to animation stuff. So I was talking a little bit earlier about the way Sora is animated is quite cartoony for a Final Fantasy character. And it totally is. And there's one particular move, actually an attack, that I think captures this perfectly. So, well, like, let me finish cutscene stuff first, but then I'll talk about it. So, you know how in various cartoons, like maybe Looney Tunes or Tom and Jerry, probably some Disney stuff too, if a character picks up like a sledgehammer or a mallet or some heavy frying pan or something, and they're gonna like swing it over their head and bop like at some other guy on the head with it, the way they'll do that is they'll kind of swing it overhead, and the force of it will kind of send their whole body up into the air, and their feet will be apart and like splayed wide apart. Anyway, my point is, Sora does that move almost exactly with his first overhead swinging attack. Like, here we go. I'm gonna jump, I'm gonna swing, bam! Bop! Bopping characters on the head. He's got his feet splayed out way to the side. He's bringing that thing right down overhead. It's totally that sort of cartoon pose. It's practically a reference to cartooniness itself. And I love that, because I think that shows the intent of the animators here. Like, it shows how much they were trying to emphasize cartooniness with the way Sora moves around the space and everything that Sora does. Because one of the things that they would have to do to make all the characters feel like they fit together in this, really even just to make the Disney characters feel right, is to try to animate the Disney characters in the Disney style. And they may not be able to do it to nearly the sort of fidelity and like perfection that Disney animation usually would be held to, just because of the amount of animation they have to create for this game, and it is a lot. But still, they've got to follow those 12 core principles of animation that the Disney animators created. The ones that, the 12 principles that all the other animators who currently exist follow. Like, those guys established the rules for this entire medium. Everything I do every day is based on what they figured out on their own. I'm probably going to talk a lot more about the 12 principles of animation in later videos. I may even go one by one in different episodes on different games, but it'll be fun. So, okay, changing gears real fast, just because I love this. So, one of the big things I really talked about in the God of War animation episodes was emphasizing that there are a lot of different ways you can have a character do one thing. Like, depending on what the character's personality is and their build and all sorts of other stuff, they may stand in very different ways with very different kinds of posture. They may walk very differently. Like, different characters can have crazy different walk cycles depending on their personality and who they are and their physicality. And there are a lot of different ways that you can, for example, have a character open a chest. When Link opens a chest, he opens up the lid and he just marvels at the shining, golden, exciting thing inside for a minute, and there's just all this ceremony to the moment, and then he pulls it out. If he's young Link, he may have to kind of half dive into the chests and to reach down and grab the thing, and then he pulls it up and puts it over his head and just da-da-da-da, and it's just this whole thing. When Kratos opens a chest, he will, like, grab the lid of it and then, like, pull on it like he's trying to lift the heaviest thing in the world and just, and he'll yank it open. It seems like nobody but him could possibly open that chest. So how does Sora open a chest? Given what we know about Sora, and I guess we don't really know a lot about him if you've not played Kingdom Hearts before, but given that those of you who've played Kingdom Hearts, given what you know about Sora, how would Sora open a chest? Let's see. I don't know why, but I really love that. I don't even know how they came up with that choice, because that's a really weird way to open a chest, but lightly tapping on it twice, like you're knocking on a stranger's door and trying to be polite, is a really interesting choice. It's kind of an interesting acting choice. Animators are functionally actors. They're just, they're making somebody else act. They're making a character act. They're kind of like halfway between puppeteers and actors. Except whereas like an actor should never be thinking about what they look like while they're working, they should just be feeling it in the moment and just like acting. Animators are all about what the character looks like and about like analyzing the motion and the body language and breaking down how does that bit of body language communicate how that character is feeling, and how can I recreate that in the characters I create. And I think looking at the way that different characters approach the same activity is a really awesome exercise for both developing your animation analysis skills as an animator, but also for seeing how different animators approached these characters and trying to determine what they're trying to communicate about that character's personality. Because animation takes a long time to make. Like, that animation of him opening a chest that way, that took at least a day. At least. And there probably were some earlier versions of it before they got to that, before they settled on that idea of having him kind of tap lightly on it to open it. And when something takes that long to create, there's usually some intent behind it. They put some thought into it, into how they wanted the character to go about that specific task. It's on purpose, whatever the reason was. All right, I think that's enough for this episode, but I'll be back with more Kingdom Hearts next time, and we're going to talk to these characters and answer some vague questions and determine our entire future, leveling throughout the rest of the game. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time.